Good morning. My name is Reverend Kylie Renner, and on behalf of the entire One Spiritual Center community, I want to welcome you here today on this glorious Sunday morning here in Albuquerque. Thank you for bringing your love and your light and your heart into this space today. So I have to say that I've been thinking a lot about how things are connected, even things that we don't think are connected. And it's honestly been partially because I've been finding the whole boat in the canal thing really interesting. Like one boat in one canal can affect so many different things. And I think that there's ways in which we don't really pay attention to the fact that how deeply all of the things we don't think of as connected are, and how powerful it is to remember our connection and to step back far enough so that we can see that the things that we do, even when we can't see the effects that they're having on other things, really do change things. And so I'm just in this space of remembering connection this morning, and hopefully internet is working again. Sorry, we're a little bit late this morning. You know, when the router dies right at 3 minutes before service, you reboot the router and start over, right? It's all about connection. Everything's connected. So here we are this morning, and if you're comfortable closing your eyes, I'm going to invite you just to join me in anchoring into prayer, bringing ourselves present to what it feels like to be here today. Right here, sitting in my yard, you can hear the hawks that have been making noise all morning, calling to each other, speaking a language of connection. And I just recognize the ways in which we are connected to one another and the deep connection we all have to the source of all of life. And I just recognize this power unfolding itself today. In remembrance and in love, as we allow ourselves to remember and to remind one another of that vitality and connection. And so I just lean into this day. And I know that all is well. And I let it be. And so it is.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Sing it, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. 3 little birds pitch by my doorstep. sweet songs, melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Sing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, rise with the rising sun. Three little birds pitch by my doorstep, singing sweet songs, melodies pure and true, singing, this is my message to you. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. We're singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Every little thing is gonna be alright. Every little thing is gonna be alright.
Song feels particularly important this morning, considering the morning we've had around here. So it's very hopeful, yes. We needed a bit of that. So this is a poem to lead us into the new meditation from John Bartlett by Mary Oliver. I refuse to live locked in the orderly houses of reasons and proofs. The world I live in and believe in is wider than that. And anyway, what's wrong with maybe? You wouldn't believe what once or twice I've seen. I'll just tell you this. Only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one. And so we're just going to take the energy of only if there are angels in your head will you ever possibly see one, and allow the meditation to move us today.
That's a tune by John Bartlett, Candle in the Dark. Here's a Dizzy Gillespie song.
Thank you, guys. We're just rolling along today. We'll figure it out. Maybe. Everything really is going to be all right. By 12:30, everything will be perfect. Yes. We'll have made it. So I have to tell you a story about my week, which is that Zephyr and I spent some time with someone who's close to us, who's grieving right now, and we did some work for this person, and this person's been in my life for a long time now and has been actually particularly unpleasant to me for most of the 18 years that I've had a relationship with them. And it's actually been kind of difficult. I end up, anytime we spend time with them, feeling at the end, right? Like I've just been beat up, like I've been walking on eggshells, and but you know, it's the things you do for the people we love. And so this week I ended up having time with this person in this new part of their life. And I ended up looking at Zephyr and going, oh my God, she can be nice? And it made me think a lot, right? It made me think about the way I'm being in things, and the way I hold on to things and priorities and ideas I have about life and how things should look, and how I take that out on everyone else and anything else around me. And I really started to look at that from the perspective of this Catherine of Siena quote that I've been thinking about for years now, that it feels real on a lot of different levels. So Catherine of Siena said that it's heaven all the way to heaven and hell all the way to hell. And for me, that's a lot about like, what am I creating while I'm on my way to something? Like, what am I holding on to? What am I expressing? What am I not expressing? How am I treating the people around me? And it's so interesting to think about this from the perspective of all of the excuses we have for why we're not being the way we want to be in the world, right? Because I think we all have our own form of destination addiction that says, you know, when I'm at this point in my life, then I'll finally be happy and loving and kind or forgiving. When my bank account looks like this, and when my job situation looks like that, or when my family member finally behaves themselves, whatever, then I'm going to finally be all of the things I say I want to be in the world. And that kind of destination addiction gives us an excuse not to be creating those things like love and freedom and peace along the way. So here's the deal. It's heaven all the way to heaven and hell all the way to hell, not just when we get to heaven, right? We have to be able to create it along the way. And so there's this great quote from a professor named Thomas Rapaldi. And it's about childhood, but I think it's really about life. And what he says is that when we adults think of children, there's a simple truth we ignore. Childhood is not preparation for life. Childhood is life. A child is not getting ready to live. A child is living. And so when children are constantly nagged with the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Courageous would be the youngster who says, I already am. I already am. And so you can see that this could be about childhood, right? Like about the idea that we have about children preparing the way for what comes next. But it really is about any stage in our lives. Like we are, right? I am. This is heaven, or this is hell. Like, what am I going to do, and how do I want to create with what is? Not just how do I want to make it so that what is isn't. And so here's that statement, right? Like I am right here in the middle of whatever the hell is going on, and it's unique to each and every one of us. Like what is going on? But how do we want to be in that? Like what is it that we really want to be creating? How do we want to be bringing the love and the peace that we really are more present on this planet? And so one of my favorite contemporary authors is Anne Lamott, and she has a new book out. So she's been promoting herself a lot more online, which I love because sometimes then I get to hear more of her stories, and I love her stories. So in fact, this morning she put out this story about what happened to her yesterday, and I'm going to share it with you because it speaks exactly to this for me. So this is what she said. Yesterday, I woke up just fine on opening day of baseball season for my colleague Jax, the Crusher Lamott. That's her grandson. I said my prayers, found my glasses, let the dog out to pee, had the most delicious cup of coffee, and gave thanks for so many blessings and tender mercies. Then everyone else woke up. And I'm not going to name names, but suffice it to say, by the time my husband and I met with my son in the very sparse bleachers of the baseball field, I was in a state. This is what they used to call my condition when I was growing up, a state. Give mommy some space. She's in a state. Oh, you're in a state, Annie. Why don't you go to your room? What it meant was that the person was being a pill, rattled and pissy, and that's how I felt. Everything everyone said was vaguely annoying at best. I felt crunchy with judgment and worries. My skin didn't fit right. I could not for the life of me find my center. And having just spent an entire month promoting my book, which is almost entirely about finding the center of our nation, our families, and mine. And so here's the first page of the last chapter of my book. Maybe the poet was wrong when he said the center cannot hold. Maybe it can, and it does hold. Maybe the center paradoxically holds everything, like the gravity well in which our tiny galaxy is held. Terrible losses befall those we love, and yet we are saved again and again by a cocoon of goodwill, evolution, and sweet milky tea. That is plenty of center for me. For instance, I am loved, grateful, sometimes brave, sober, and wearing dry pants. This makes Jesus very happy even when he's had a long day, because this has not always been the case for me. Poor old Jesus. He's had so many long days with me when I forget to be grateful and trusting, and when I scheme to figure out a great plan of attack that will relieve my discomfort that usually makes things worse. I worry that I will cause him to start doing Jell-O shots. There I was in the center of the top bleachers, pretending not to be in a state. In between my son, who was in a state about pretending not to be, and my husband, who was not in a state, but in know-it-all-its, and me actively grateful for basically nothing. And I couldn't help but notice that I was the common denominator. Far away from on the bottom bleacher was Jack's other family, his mom, stepdad, brothers, grandma. They were all so happy to be together in the sun on opening day. I love them, but I found this extremely annoying, being that I was in a state. My grandson struck out his first time at bat. The willingness to change anything, like getting healthy, sober, or out of a bad mood, comes from the pain of not changing. I was in a low-key misery, spiky as the spoiled princess of a sea urchin community. I said my most effective prayer, bless them, change me. I tried slow, conscious breathing, which usually connects me umbilically to something greater than my pinball mind outside of and deep within me. No dice today. my grandson struck out again. Praying to be less of an asshat and remembering to breathe are the two most reliable tools in my battered old toolbox, but they weren't working. The third is doing loving things. And so I walked home and got copies of the new book for Jax's mom and a copy for his grandma and signed them with effusive love and took them back to the bleachers. And they got so happy I decided right then to be in a good mood. My spiritual mentor, horrible Bonnie, told me a story when I first got sober of a friend's aged mother who had finally had to be moved into an assisted living facility. Greeting Bonnie's friend and mother, director said, "You'll have a room to yourself with a little view of the front yard. I think you'll like it." "Oh, I'll love it," said the old woman. "But you haven't even seen it yet," said the director, smiling. "How can you know?" "Because I've decided I will," she said. So I decided, why not? I'll be that old lady soon enough. I breathed my way into my center, the kiosk deep inside me where I can look out with attention and kindness. And my grandson struck out again. But in the last inning, when the other team had bases loaded, my grandson, the crusher, made the winning play from second base. And there was much, much joy in Mudville. And so I love the realness of this, because I know we all have those moments where we're praying to be less of an asshat, right? Like praying that we just got to get out of the state we're in. And we don't even know sometimes why we're in this state. It just is. And there's something so profoundly powerful about that idea that I'm just going to decide to be different. I'm going to decide to do this whole thing different. But catching ourselves in the middle of it is really important, I've found. Like catching ourselves in that moment where we have the choice to do something different. That maybe we don't want to take out whatever it is that we think is going on everyone around us. And maybe we want to create heaven all the way to heaven instead of creating our own personal hell to the point where we then figure out that we want to do things differently. And we all have a different flavor of this. I love Anne Lamott because she's so irreverent about her own process in this and so honest. Because I don't think most of us would admit so freely that we're in a state more often than we care for other people to know. But there's this sense in which when we're honest about it, right, then we can have a relationship to something different. Then we can start to create something different all along the way. Instead of thinking we're going to get someplace and then finally be what we're growing into or growing up into. So I also love this other story that Anne Lamott tells in one of her previous books that has stuck with me for many, many years. And this is a story of her going shopping with her friend who had terminal cancer. And Anne came out of the dressing room and asked her friend if the dress made her hips look too big. And her friend, sitting there in the wheelchair with very, very little time left to live, told her, I really don't think you have that kind of time. And it's always struck me as a great way of relating to those questions we have that are just kind of stupid, right? Like the things we get in a state about, the ideas we have about ourselves and the world that just, like, why? Why are we doing it that way? Could we be doing something different? Could we be creating heaven all the way to heaven? Who cares what your hips look like, right? Like there's something deeper that we're here to do. We don't have time. We don't have that kind of time. And there is no place that we're going to get where it's finally all going to be okay and complete unless we are willing to create that every step along the way. And that means even in the midst of a damn global pandemic, right? Like we have to be willing to be right where we are, creating the heaven that we want to be living into. Not waiting till it's over, not waiting till everything feels more secure or known, like right here in all of our questions, in all of the things that are left undone and incomplete, in all of the things we don't know the results of yet. Like we have to be able and willing to create all along the way. And so I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to see someone who's been in my life this week in a new light, because I also, because of that experience, was holding all kinds of things about that relationship. And the goodness that can come from being able to have a new experience of that, so that I can be creating more heaven, so that I can be creating more of what I want to be creating, no matter where I am or whoever I'm with, no matter what they're going through. And so I am in a deep recognition that just like a child who's being nagged, what do you want to do when you grow up, that it's a much more courageous, much more powerful declaration that we could make is saying that I already am. And if what I'm creating, if how I'm being is not how I want to be, remembering that I have a choice to change that, just like that woman getting checked into the nursing home had a chance to say, I'm going to love it. I'm sure I am. That's a choice that we get to make. And so I'm going to ask the band to come on up, because we're going to anchor in prayer today in the sense of really remembering that we have a choice to make heaven all the way to heaven and hell all the way to hell, and the wisdom of pulling that more deeply into our experience. And we're going to let prayer move us today. So as we prepare the way for prayer, I'm going to ask you to think of maybe some place where you've set some destination as your idea of when you'll finally be able to do or be or create that what you want to create. And we're going to pull back and realize that we created all along the way, that there's no destination for that to happen at. And we're going to see what happens in relationship with the one right here and now. So please join me as we sing into our prayer.
Our prayer of love, it lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high, it heals us, sustains us, sets us free.
So right here, right now, our prayer of love is a prayer of recognizing that right where we are, we have the power to create whatever it is that we want more of in our lives. More love, freedom, creativity, peace, power, wisdom, whatever it is, we have right here and right now everything we need. And we allow ourselves to open to the wisdom that arises from the recognition that we don't have to go anywhere to get it. There's not some other point in which we will finally arrive. In fact, we are. It already is. I am. And it is in recognition of this that we are able to more deeply open to the recognition that we create in each moment, whatever it is that we want more of. And that there is absolutely nothing standing in the way of this. No circumstance, no diagnosis, no global news story. There is absolutely nothing standing in the way, because it is already within us. And so we are willing to step into the creation of heaven all the way to heaven, recognizing that we have within us that power, the power to choose how it is we want to be, no matter what's going on. And so we choose powerfully and creatively to be in alignment with who we are becoming, and to catch ourselves when we fall out of alignment, bringing ourselves back from being in a state, so that we can remember why we're really here. And so I just let go. I let spirit move. I let the bigger idea unfold. And I let it be. And so it is.
Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free. Our prayer of love lifts us high. It heals us, sustains us, and sets us free.
Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for continuing to show up through all this time, and so interesting to still be in that space of like, I don't know what comes next. So thank you for being flexible with us and continuing to show up. There are bagels today, as well as copies of one of my father-in-law's books. So he self-published this particular one and had too many copies made. And now that he's no longer with us, I have the distinct honor of getting rid of over 1,000 copies of a book. So he's an artist as well as a collector, and this book is about his carnival chalkware collection, which is fascinating, right? But what's really interesting about carnival chalkware is that it was given out at carnivals, like if you won a prize, and there's a lot of interesting history and archetypes that showed up, and he wrote a whole book along with his photos about what he learned about some of the figures that were given away. So in the back of the book, you'll see that Louis Armstrong was one of the characters given away, but instead of having the skin color he should have, he was presented in whiteface. And so there's a lot of different things like that, and giving away Ku Klux Klan memorabilia and such at carnivals. And so the book is out there, and you may take as many copies as you like. And if you're watching online and you would like a copy, I will mail you one. Send me your address. Like, seriously, like if you think you know someone who wants one, like this is gonna be like for the next 10 years of my life trying to get rid of these books. So don't do that to your children. And we also have a carnival chalkware figure collection if you're interested in that. Oh man, yeah, thousands of carnival chalkware figures, guys. All right. So anyway, family, love you guys. Thank you for all the love that you share. So there are baskets in the trees, as well as a place on our website to give a donation, and feel free to just feel the love that gets shared when those contributions get made. We really appreciate it. And I believe that we will be singing, and I think we're done. So please join us.
One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People, get ready for the train coming. You don't need no baggage, you just get on board. All you need is faith through that diesel humming. You don't need no ticket, you just thank the Lord. heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. People get ready for the train to Jordan, picking up passengers from coast to coast. Faith is the key, open the doors of boredom. There's room for all that love the most. One love, one heart. Let's get together and feel alright. One love, one heart. Let's give thanks to the Lord, and we can feel alright. Let's get together and feel alright.
And we have one last blessing to sing to one another.
Go forth and walk in beauty, and know that we are one.